let us all do we can to build a better future. All right, Daniel, you got a story for the people. What is going on?
Okay, so remember how, like, you know, we've been at Hardlands Media for, like, I don't know, since we came around, have been saying, hey, maybe this Russiagate thing might not work out or be accurate. And then we also said, hey, you know that impeachment thing that we were thinking of doing with Trump? Hey, that might just backfire in your face and waste a whole lot of time over nothing. And then remember when we were like with the second impeachment, we were like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea because it won't happen and it won't work. And Democrats were like, no, well, we're going to do it anyway because we hold people accountable, except 95% of the people we work with. Separate story. So Biden is just deciding to, like, yeah, I don't know. And he wants to just move on from impeachment. Like, nothing happens. Oh, we just helped revive Trump's campaign. Everything's better for him. And we wasted a whole lot of time because we didn't know how to walk and chew gum at the same time. And we sort of abandoned the American people with this sort of pandemic depression combination because we wanted to focus on us being scared because the police that were supposed to protect us let protesters in. But it's the protesters' fault because MAGA is bad. Well, Biden, again, is now like, behind us. Nothing matters. Let's go into it. President Joe Biden kept his head down during the impeachment trial of his predecessor, which ended Saturday afternoon with Donald Trump's acquittal. And now he can't move fast enough. Biden is traveling to Wisconsin and Michigan this week as he presses ahead on the challenges that will make or break his own presidency. Defeating the pandemic and reviving the battered economy, which of course he's doing by not giving people checks right away and not passing Medicare for all. But he's working on it. He says he is. So changing not just the topic of conversation, but also the tone could just be as difficult as tackling the coronavirus. It was also a central promise of his campaign, which ironically Trump seems to have gotten most of it done with the vaccine regiment that we're in right now, which is sort of ironic. Delaware Senator Chris Coons, a close Biden confidant, played a key role in preventing the trial from being indefinitely being prolonged when House Democrats, I should say, wanted to call witnesses Saturday morning. By the way, they didn't call witnesses in the last one either because they all know where this is going to end up. They're just doing it for show. Quote, the trial has reached its natural conclusion, Coons said Sunday in an appearance on ABC's The Week with George Snuffleupagus. And that's basically it. So here we have it. The Democrats have wasted, I don't know how many millions of dollars of their own time because they get paid a lot, remember? And I don't know how much they would have done had this thing not been there. I really do feel like they were just like, they needed some excuse to not do anything. But regardless, they didn't do anything because they were doing this. So basically, Democrats have wasted millions, effectively because they haven't passed legislation, billions of dollars, cost hundreds, maybe thousands of lives because they wanted to do a Red Scare tactic from the Cold War and Russiagate and a whole thing, Russia. And then they wanted the impeachment. It's all self-gratification, and you are the victim. You pay for this. You lose out on legislation that doesn't happen, and people believe that they're doing it in good faith or that they think it's going to happen when they know and they knew this would never work out. It was just something to yell about. Instead, they could have, I don't know, when Trump was running or Biden or whatever, they could have just said, hey, we're going to pass these policies instead of what we have now, which is, do we even want to pass anything to begin with? You guys have enough.
Okay. So it's really hard to do a follow-up to this because what can I say that neither you or I haven't said before about Biden turning a blind eye to this impeachment? This is very similar to when Barack Obama and his administration did nothing about George Bush Jr. and Dick Cheney. These are real things. The Democrats just don't want to do it. They don't want to antagonize the GOP, not because, they're afraid of any kind of political, aftermath from the GOP or what the GOP will do. It's because should the GOP get any kind of power, the GOP is going to be more effective in punishing the Democrats later on down the road because the Democrats have no backbone or spine. See, what the first impeachment, here's better yet, what Russiagate, the first impeachment, and the second impeachment, what it's all about really It was feel-good porn for all those who hated Trump.
That's it.
That's it. And here's the thing, mind you, look at what Russiagate, the first impeachment, and the second impeachment all had in common. They were talking about Trump. That's the thing about the Democrats, the vote blue no matter who crowd, corporate media. They got to talk about Trump. They can't stop talking about him. They need him like a drug. And it's a real fact. And the thing is, we're all going to have to deal with the fact that there is a fundamental mental problem with a lot of people who have Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Because now that the orange man is gone, they don't have their boogeyman anymore. Now, is it possible, potential, maybe Trump runs again in 2024? I don't know. But I wouldn't say that it can't happen. And remember, the Democrats, they did the second impeachment because they were afraid to go up against him in a debate in 2024, should he have run again. Because that's what would have been one of the consequences of this impeachment, should the Senate have actually, actually did their job as a jury, that it would have prevented Trump from running again for any kind of office at all. So this is the problem with the Democrats and Joe Biden in particular. When it comes down to fighting for stuff, even something that their the diehard liberal base wanted, they can't follow through on it. They're weak. They're sick in the head. And the only person who probably saw through this in the entire Washington, D.C. swamp bubble was Tulsi Gabbard. I know. She was the only one who said present. And you want to know why? Because no one should be involved in this mess. Nothing was going to happen with Trump. He got impeached in the House. But the Senate, which is the actual branch that really matters, the jury was never going to follow through or convict him or do anything of the like. It was a foregone conclusion that nothing was going to happen to Donald Trump. And you want to know why? Because it's one big club and you're not in it. Yeah. This whole Trump derangement syndrome is just showing how weak and inept a lot of people are when it comes down to in the realms of corporate media or being in the political sphere in Washington, D.C. People can't see the bigger picture. We are suffering under the collapse of neoliberalism right now, where people are still waiting for their stimulus checks. People are still waiting in lines for food. People are still being evicted from their homes. Nothing has fundamentally changed. So Joe Biden now moving on, it's Democrats. It's how the Democrats act. This is from their playbook. This is what they do. They talk a big game and then they walk away. Yeah. And who's the only person who's left holding the bag? It's you, the voter. So for all those progressives who were browbeaten to vote blue no matter who, I understand Trump, at second term of Trump would have been bad, but I mean, look at this alternative. Nothing's going to happen to Trump. He's okay. Trump is walking away. He is going to be fine. And so you're going to have to deal with him in 2024. Sorry to break it to you, but you know, go ahead and protest in front of Trump Tower if you want, because it's not going to do anything.
And so here's the other part of this. Ironically, Joe Biden has already put out he's way more hawkish already than Trump was in his entire presidency, with the exception of a couple assassinations that he pulled off. Let's be real, and with Iran, the Iran deal, which I was very unhappy when he tore that up. But at the same time, the Biden administration is determined to not put that deal back together. The Biden administration just tore up another peace agreement that we made in Afghanistan. They're bombing Somalia again. So already we're more hawkish in terms of what we're actually doing rather than threats to some degree than Trump. And Trump wanted and was talking constantly about giving people money, whereas Biden is talking about not giving people money and waiting. So I don't know. I want to ask the audience this. Since Biden's been elected, just with what we have so far, is he doing better or worse than Trump? If he's doing better than Trump, type 1. If he's doing worse than Trump, type 2.
Yeah, because we here at Heartlands Media believe in democracy. That's a good note to end it on.